In an evaluation of a course, a student once fulminated that my definition of an atheist as someone who disbelieves in God was the worst definition he had ever heard. As I interpret his criticism, the student assumed that by using the name God, I was already committed to the existence of God, so that my definition was demonstrably biased. However, from Quine's paper on what there is, we can learn that the student's conclusion, as I interpret it, was uncalled for. Deep down, it erroneously assumed what Quine nicknames Plato's beard. That is the idea that, quote, non-being must in some sense be, otherwise what is it that there is not, unquote. According to Quine, the mistake rests on a distinction between existence conceived of as actuality and being conceived of as possibility, allowing for non-existent beings or entities. Quine, by contrast, argues that being is the same as existence and that the existential quantifier of first-order predicate logic adequately captures that single sense of being or existence. Indeed, first-order predicate logic allows us to regiment the atheist's disbelief in God as the atheist's belief that God doesn't exist. Of course, the word God must mean something, but Quine insists that that doesn't mean that the word God must name something. In that respect, Quine builds on Russell's earlier suggestion that names are actually disguised descriptions. Quine's example is Pegasus. If the name Pegasus means the winged horse that was captured by Bellerophon, the view that Pegasus does not exist can be expressed as the view that there is no winged horse that was captured by Bellerophon. Subsequently, Quine addresses the question how to determine one's ontological commitments. That is, the entities or types of entities one believes in. Since for Quine, quote, to be is to be the value of a bound variable, unquote, one can readily read off one's ontological commitments from the regimentation in first-order predicate logic of the sentences one takes to be true. Of course, it is possible that one's ontological commitments are not welcome. In their hilarious but also profound dialogue on wholes by Stephanie and David Lewis, Bargel tricks Argel, who believes in nothing but concrete material objects, into ontologically committing to there being many holes in the gruyere they are sharing. By the way, in a MOOC about food and metaphysics, I'm obliged to spell out that gruyere doesn't have holes. The authors most probably had Emmental cheese in mind. There are two ways in which Argel may respond to being ontologically committed to the existence of holes. First, following Quine's suggestions in On What There Is, Argel tries to come up with an alternative regimentation, a paraphrase. There are no holes in the cheese, but rather the cheese is perforated. Kindly note that if this paraphrase is successful, Argel is only quantifying over one thing, the cheese, saying that the predicate is perforated applies to it. In the dialogue, Argel's paraphrasing strategy fails though, and so he adopts a second strategy. Bargel presented the holes in the cheese as counterexamples to Argel's belief that there are only concrete material objects. But now Argel is ready to admit for holes by conservatively reducing a hole to the whole lining, so that the concrete material object that is the edge of the hole turns out to be identical to the hole.